invite Ms. Rafia Mudassir, who is the person behind this idea. This reminds me of a lovely quote. Leaders don't create followers, they create more leaders. Ms. Rafia is one of those leaders who always brings people in front. She's a great mentor who has empowered many teachers and made them outstanding leaders. Here you can have a look at the profile of Ms. Rafia Mudassir. Marvelous achievements. I'm so proud of her. She's an amazing leader and the master of her field. Her latest achievement is that she's the only certified facilitator and specialist of value-based leadership in Pakistan, certified by Global Priority Solutions. So welcome, Ms. Rafia Mudassir. Over to you to enlighten us with your concept note. Thank you so much. Please unmute yourself.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. A very good morning. I hope all of you are doing well. And welcome to the International Teacher Leadership Summit. And before I go on to my talk, I would like to thank the team and the people who have just joined us in the morning, early morning. And we have our distinguished guests also, Ms. Fawzia. I saw Ms. Fawzia, I saw Dr. Zakia, I saw Abbas Saab also. So welcome to all the speakers. And of course, my mentor, Mike, is right in front of me. So I am feeling nervous seeing him there, but I will just start sharing my screen and then go on to my talk. Is it visible, Fareen?
Yes, Ms. Rafia.
Okay, just a minute. Okay, so Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. The topic of my talk is the essence of teacher leadership. Now, teacher leadership is a new concept, something very new being researched also in the West, as well as in Pakistan. It has come to the forefront after this pandemic, whereby the teachers actually became frontline workers, just like the doctors. And they had to take on the lead in teaching and learning process. Many a times without any support or help from anyone, they were struggling and they actually learned a lot during this process. So here actually, I will be differentiating between what we understand as teacher leadership and what actually it is. So in Pakistan, and even myself, when I was a teacher, I thought that teacher leadership meant that you got promoted as the head or deputy head, or you became the coordinator, or you became the frontline worker in a school setting or on a managerial position. So the teachers actually were ambitious about these roles, and which is what I call vertical growth. And I feel that teacher leadership is actually the horizontal growth, which is not focused upon. So I will actually look at my own timeline and how and what I learned to be giving examples before I go into the researchers or quoting anyone. And there is no second opinion that teachers actually are the main sources of bringing about any change or innovation in a school. And they should be given the leadership role and the understanding of the leadership role that they need to play. So when I joined the school, I joined as a language teacher. And the opportunities that I got, it was a new school and it was being established. What the opportunity that I got was that I became the master of the ceremony. It was an army school, army public school. So that is what they call. So the first inaugural ceremony, I was the master of the ceremony. And it was the first great learning experience where I was leading a function of the school where the school was being inaugurated. Then since it was a new school, there were piles of books lying in a room. On the floor we sat and we started developing or working on the curriculum. So being a language teacher, I was made in charge of English, and they thought that I was speaking good English, so I am very well versed. And since they had those expectations and I got that opportunity, I worked and tried to do my best. Then another opportunity that was given to me was the counseling, because the head of the school or the principal felt that I had good rapport with the students, especially the older students, the teenagers. So I was also made the counselor. So another learning that started taking place was how to guide the youngsters without any proper formal training. And the last, which actually the very first year was a great learning experience in the sense that I was made the in charge of the annual event planning, the floor planning and everything. And as you know that functions in army public schools or these military institutions, they are very uh, high profile functions. So the chief guest was the chief of army staff. So just imagine the tension, the excitement, and the exhilaration that I felt as a teacher working on such a grand thing. So next year, within 2 years, I was promoted as a subject coordinator, which of one level. So another learning started taking place where I gathered resources of that particular level for English and improved my teaching of English, and guided the other teachers, the new inductees or the ones who are newer teachers in this school. Then I was made the event in charge. I was responsible for holding coordination meetings for my level and also setting up rosters with the head for coordination meetings, etc. So realizing that I have good leading skills or managerial skills, I was assigned these roles. Then came 1999, the grand year where I got my first formal training from abroad, the postgraduate certificate course. It was a 4 weeks module where we learned about school improvement planning, that teachers can actually implement changes and innovations in the classroom by implementing a plan related to their subject. The very year when I came back, I was promoted as the deputy head. And so I had to look at the whole school, not just my class and my subject. So again, a very big, like I was just thrown into the swimming pool to learn how to swim. So school improvement planning, I did research. Then the research that I took up was remedial classes for the students, remediation and improving through counseling. So this was again, as a teacher, I was growing in the skills of dealing with students and dealing with students with specific learning problems and how to cater to them. Where do we need remediation classes? Where do we need counseling? Where do we need to involve parents? So a whole lot of learning taking place in 1999. And on the basis of my assignment that I submitted, which was a classroom action it would be called a school research, I was given a scholarship to go abroad for the PGDC, which was postgraduate diploma course, to become a trainer, or a certified trainer. So here I learned about how to teach adults and the difference between teaching and training, because you can't be a trainer to the students, you can't be a teacher to the adults. So the difference between that, and I tried to balance both the roles because I was teaching too in the classroom as well as training. So I'm telling you, it was just 3 years of joining the profession that I went into all this training and changes and promotions. So as you can see, then I did my master's in education leadership from University of Strathclyde. And here I learned about the Scottish qualification for headship, which is considered one of the best programs across the globe. So when I researched that, I actually started understanding the school cultures. What is the role the head has and what is the impact a head and her personality has on the culture of the school, and how much visionary she needs to be able to guide the teachers or train the teachers. So this journey continued. When I came back, I was promoted as a principal of a campus with 1,100 boys and 3 heads and 3 deputy heads. So as you can see, the area where the school was located was an area where I had to deal with the community. Just adjacent to the school was a mosque. So I had to talk to the Maulana Sahab also for school functions, the neighbors also. So I learned dealing with different types of people and how to actually bring them to the vision and mission of the school. And as a community work on whatever the school wanted to achieve in that area. So then 2010, I left one of the school that I had joined, and after 14 and a half years, after conducting a grand inset, which was a subject-specific training, again, 1,000 teachers, 100 heads. So you can just look at the vertical growth. When you look at the vertical growth, it is a roller coaster ride. But what happens with most of the teachers when they are promoted, we lose a good teacher, a good subject teacher. And at the same time, what happens is that if they are progressing the way I progressed, many of us don't find the time or are not reflective practitioners. We do not stop and see what are the skills lacking in me, or where I need to grow as a leader or as a teacher in these roles that have been assigned to me. So you can see I am very well aware of my vertical growth. Vertical growth was very fast, but at the same time, I was growing horizontally, learning all these skills, and I was reflecting on myself as a learner too and making improvements. So that is why I call myself a teacher leader, that I did not just pass on any phase of this learning. I dwelled upon it, I reflected, I improved myself, and tried to put in those aspects which were lacking in me as an individual, as a person. And now the journey has actually gone towards the spiritual self, where I am trying to connect to the community, the people around me, the universe. And I worked with before launching Nurul Huda, I also worked with smaller schools to gain an understanding that what are the issues that they face with reference to teacher leadership. Now, when we talk of Fullan says that leadership is the key to school reform, and yet it is not practiced as a educational application. The concept of teacher leadership as a powerful force in school reform is not new. According to Bond 2015, teacher leadership was recognized as an important field of study in the 1980s, and since then, articles and books have been written. But in Pakistan, we now need to start thinking about it and to come up with programs where teachers are developed into leaders. The current interest in teacher leadership has become more eminent because of this pandemic situation, where we feel at times the school leaders were not so well versed with technology, or they were not aware of how to go about it. So the teachers themselves actually have led their learning, updated themselves with reference to technology and innovation, and continued the teaching and learning process. But we have to take on board those teachers who did not have these resources, or who did not have these opportunities to learn from them. So this summit also is an opportunity for all those teachers who were left behind. Especially, we have gone out of the way to actually bring in teachers from community schools and underprivileged schools. Now, when we talk about teacher leadership, there are 5 aspects. The first is the personal identity, personal self. Many a times the teachers are not aware of their personal self, their own personal identities, their values, their beliefs, their attributes, and how they need to grow to be more effective teachers. And at times we find resistance also when they are given the mentoring or they are advised to improve something. Some teachers actually resist it. So these programs, the mentoring programs, actually help teachers to build on their confidence and whatever they are achieving. And they can contribute more to the school system. Then the teacher is leading the classroom, which means that she needs to be aware of the classroom management. She needs to be aware of the subject. So many teachers call themselves subject specialists, and I feel that until and unless they have acquired all the knowledge that they need to be expert in that particular subject, what is the reason that subject is part of the curriculum, the philosophy behind including a particular subject, and also what is the latest research, what are the new books in the market. So a teacher who's teaching in one particular subject should be aware of what are the other books being used in the schools in the vicinity. So to gain expertise in your subject, you need to be collaborating with your other colleagues, teaching in other schools, as well as those. Now it has become easier to connect to people worldwide and see what is happening abroad also. So it has become easier for the teachers. Then leading the students. If the teacher is not aware of her own values and beliefs and her own attributes, she cannot transfer that to the students. So I've seen teachers in observations that when they are not aware of their own lacking or they have blind spots, they are not able to lead the students also. And in this time and age where we have when we look at the future skills, the teachers need to prepare students for the future skills, and the attributes required are compassion, problem solving, analytical skills. So if the teacher herself is not practicing that in the classroom or is not role modeling them for the students will not acquire those skills. So it is very, very important that the teachers they know how to lead the students, which means understanding the student, showing more compassion, and understanding their skills and abilities and guiding them accordingly. Then teachers never think that they could be policymakers. And we have a session with Sharia today where she'll be talking about it in detail. So I'll just touch upon it, that we need to have teacher leaders to contribute to policy, because they are the ones who deal with the students in the classroom, and they are the ones who are looking at what is happening in the classroom, what are the needs of the students, and how to implement the syllabus. Last but not the least, becoming reflective practitioners. You cannot become a teacher leader unless you reflect on your practice. As I just showed you my chart, I have been reflecting and writing on all these different stages of my learning and development as a teacher. And my book is going for publishing, which actually is a reflection of myself as a teacher and what I have learned over the years. So even a small incident like a student not submitting work on time, we need to look at it and see, or the class not doing well in a particular topic or subject. Was my strategy right? Were my activities appropriate? Did I set the right objectives for my lesson or not? So leading your subject, leading the students, you are already doing, but you need to be aware of it and understand your role and how much you are doing justice to your role as a teacher leader in the classroom. Because when you stand in front of 25 to 30 children, you are a leader and you are supposed to be giving the best to the students and role modeling. So I will just conclude with the future aspects in a minute by saying that this pandemic has been a great opportunity for teachers to reflect and look at their skills. And I would also say that we are not just teachers, we all are born leaders. We all have something special in us where we can lead. And we have to find that, and that finding comes from reflection, looking within and understanding, and overcoming the barriers or the hindrances that we fail. And sometimes these hindrances are just in the mind. Whenever you ask a teacher, are you a leader? They say, no, I'm just a teacher. So just as a teacher, you are still a leader in the classroom. You are still leading the children, and you need to be aware of your role more than anyone else, because in the end, you are not just answerable to the parents, the students, or the higher management of the school. You are answerable to Allah, because you have been put in a place to lead these young, raw minds to success.